Melanie.
Ready? Good morning, everybody. We're going to get started. We need to take a roll call. We can start on this end.
Ed Bowles.
Johnny Martinez.
Barbara Boyd.
Ken Martinez.
Rick Snow.
Sherry Jones.
Cynthia Nava.
Pat DeVivi.
Okay, great. And we need to approve the agenda. Have a motion?
I move.
Okay, a second. All right, and all in favor?
Aye.
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 All righty, and then I trust everybody had a chance to review the minutes from the 15th and the 20th. Do we have a motion to accept those? First off, the minutes from the 15th.
So moved.
We have a second? John? Okay, and all in favor?
Aye.
All righty, I mean, myself as well. And minutes from the 20th. Do we have a motion on that? Rick? And then do we have a second?
Second.
Cynthia, thank you. And all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, all righty.
Aye.
Okay, good morning, everybody. So we're gonna have a discussion here. The committee's gonna have a discussion, the draft report. We're not releasing any information to you folks as of yet because we haven't finalized all our stuff. We're still looking at, there's still some discussion regarding numbers and different things, but you'll hear our discussion as far as how we put the report together, and as always, you guys are welcome to comment at the end. Alrighty. So everybody should have a copy of the report. The draft report, I'm sorry.
So it's draft 4,
So this is draft 4.
February 26th.
I'm sorry?
Here.
You know,
I can share what else. Thank you. I'll have to share what you share.
and then some of the stuff took a little while for me to get out to you guys because I was having computer issues, and then I sent stuff to the wrong email, from the wrong email, so I was getting responses, and that's my fault. So, but I think we're square now. So I guess probably the best way to discuss it, unless you guys have any opinions, is probably just go section by section. You agree with that? And just, we can discuss the contents and our processes and how we went through that.
And the reason, just to clarify, the reason it's called draft 4 is because the writing committee went through 2 drafts. And we sent the 3rd draft to the broader committee, and this is the 4th draft. So that's why it's number 4.
Mr. Chairman, can I make a comment?
Of course, always.
First off, I want to thank you for having us meet in person, because I think what's been lacking is that we have not really been able to have enough work sessions to do our work. And editing a document is not the same as meeting and coming to consensus. So I'm hoping that's what we'll do at this meeting.
Yeah, of course, we can talk about all that. And I have to applaud Rick, Ken, and Barb. They have put a lot of time. They've met extensively. They've spent a lot of hours on this stuff. The scheduled 2-hour meetings are end up being 3, 4 hours. And I've been trying to take a back seat and let them write, and I'm just, kind of hearing things, but they put a lot of work into this. So I want to commend them. And I think you folks out there need to know that they've put a lot of time into this. So between Sherry's data, all your surveys, and you guys putting all the aggregating all that stuff and writing the report, I want to applaud you guys publicly for all the work that you guys done. Guys have put a lot of work into that, so thank you for that. Okay, so we can start from the top. If anybody wants to make any comments as far as regards to the preamble, we can go through that, and then we can just, I think probably the best way to do it is just to go section by section. So let's look at the preamble, and does anybody have any comments regarding the preamble?
I have one, Mr. Chairman, and it has to do with the word consensus. I think it may be important for us to arrive at a definition a shared definition of the word consensus. Because my background and my experience with committees and agreements and such tells me that consensus means everybody agrees to something. And yet, if you look at least Merriam-Webster, you'll find multiple definitions that include one saying the judgment arrived at by most of those concerned is also a form of consensus. So I just put that on the table and maybe ask for comments from other members of the committee.
While we're looking at that sentence, I also have an issue with invested. I don't know how you define that, invested members of the community. Am I an invested member? Is John Perea? I mean, who are invested? I don't like that word either. So if we're gonna wordsmith that sentence, I think we should change it.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, yeah, that's one of my concerns too, is that we not get too involved in wordsmithing in this meeting. Maybe just raise those kinds of concerns, because we could spend a lot of time quibbling over the definitions and words that bother us and all of that kind of thing. I mean, I have more of that myself, but I hope we don't go through it that way here.
Okay, so just, and we can discuss that word, Cynthia, but I'm going to tell you, my take on invested is everybody on this committee, because you guys all invest your time, and we have emails going around in the background, and we have phone calls going on in the background. So as far as I'm concerned, invested members means everybody on the committee.
Then, Mr. Chairman, it should just say, and all members of the committee.
So is that, so as for the rest of the committee members, is that a word we need to, is that something we need to change? Do we need to vote on that?
That sentence refers to community members, not committee.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, yes.
Can't define it.
I see it, okay.
So community members who have been invested in the issue, meaning all those who have expressed any kind of opinion in any form throughout this whole process. That's what was meant by the word invested.
Perhaps a better word would be interested?
Interested?
Do you have any other comments?
Yes, sir.
Go ahead.
Yeah, it's not about any particular word. It's about the awkwardness I feel at discussing this when none of these people know what we're reading. Would it be inappropriate to read each of these paragraphs to the public?
That'd be fine.
Oh, you can do that?
Okay, that's
I
fine.
don't have a problem with you reading stuff out to the public. That's not a problem.
Okay, I think, okay, well then, unless you guys,
Take a long time now. Yeah.
it's gonna take a while, but, okay.
Mr. Chairman, I raised one of the issues on the wordsmithing, and I don't feel that that has to be done right now, but if we don't raise an issue when we're going through the section, can't we just make a note of it and then we can figure it out later on?
By all means,
Okay.
by all means. So, this preamble is basically just discussing, the commission to get this, to work this project and how we did it and how we reached out, and, it's basically just a preface as far as the rest of the process. It would be lengthy reading though, so I kind of agree with Cynthia on that. But unless you feel we need it to be read, I mean, we can take a vote on that, and it's just gonna take us more time.
This is when you get to 3 hours. This is how 3 hours becomes.
I think we owe it to the people who have come in to hear us.
Okay, so let's take a vote on that. So,
Put it on the screen.
We have a PowerPoint.
how many,
Somebody could send it to me. You can try
Wait a
and put it
minute,
up there.
we might have an
Yeah.
option. I can send you, yes.
And then we could put it on the screen.
oh, that's a good idea.
Yeah, that'd be better than reading.
That'd be
it
better.
aloud, yeah.
That'd be better. That way we can be responsible to you guys and at the same time save all the time. That work for you, Ed?
Yes, sir.
This was called draft, was it not?
Yeah, draft 4.
How do you send the report?
Yes, I have that. Okay.
Dated 2/29.
Melanie, I'm gonna send it to you right now.
Okay.
I'm sorry?
Dated 2/29.
No, I've got, do you have a more recent one than what you sent out to us?
Oh, Yeah, this says
says draft
226, but the file name is
Draft 4.
draft 4, 22924. File name.
I'll make sure. Just let me get this real fast. Okay, I'm sending, just so everyone knows, hold on. Not-
And so just so you folks understand, it's pretty lengthy, so I can understand Cynthia's concerns but like Ed says, I think we owe it to everybody that shows up and shows interest.
Sorry, I have a zillion documents, so I'm going through, I apologize to everybody.
You're doing fine. You're doing great.
Yeah, and it'll take me just a minute because I don't actually have access to my email in here, so I have to remember how to access it through the online portal, so give me just a minute.
Would it help if we just read the preamble out loud while you work on that?
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Barbara, I'm gonna elect Barbara because she's a great reader.
Ken did most of the reading when we were together, so I'm taking over your job. The Multi-Use Center Committee prepared this report from the understanding that we were appointed to represent the broader village of Corrales community. We were honored to represent you. Our intent was, to the best of our ability, to do exactly that. We approached the task seriously and with an open mind. We cast the net wide to capture as much information from the public as possible so that the conclusions and recommendations reflected you, the public. Everyone who had an opinion was welcome to voice it. Despite that, because the proposed facility has been such a contentious issue, we realize that not everyone will be satisfied with the contents and conclusions of the report. Yet, it does represent the evolved consensus of the community members who have been invested in the issue. Our hope is that the report will lead to continued constructive, inclusive, and transparent discussion and planning that includes the many diverse voices from our village. So in there, you see the next to last sentence has the word consensus and invested.
And community.
And community members, yes.
Melanie, send a different one.
Want to read the next one, since we're just still working out?
Well, do we want to settle the consensus and invested? Let's get that done.
Okay.
So I think we still have a question on the table about the word consensus, and we still have a question on the table about the word invested. So Ed, do you want to go first?
Well, what I'm thinking is reflected in what Cynthia said is we don't need to do that wordsmithing now, in my opinion. I
Okay.
think this is what really would take a lot of time. I imagine so. So I'm not interested in going through those word by word today. I'll help later.
Very good. Well, I'm glad you folks can hear the discussions that we have. So it's not that easy.
Continue.
You may continue. Oh, okay. Sorry, continue. Okay, next section is introduction. This multi-use center committee was formed pursuant to Corrales Resolution 23-57 dated August 22nd, 2023, signed by Mayor Jim Fahey, creating an ad hoc committee to refine a conceptual plan for the Corrales Education Community and Arts Multi-Use Center, which is in Appendix 1. The resolution includes the committee's mission will be to complete a plan for the multi-use facility so that construction documents can be commissioned by the village administration. And the committee shall be directed to gather further citizen input regarding the needs of the village that could be met by such a center and incorporate into the final design recommendations. And the committee shall provide the council with a presentation of their findings within a period of 6 months. And the committee will be made up of 9 members with broad representation of Corraleños. And the committee shall provide the council with a presentation of their findings within a period of 6 months. The appointed members of the Multi-Use Center Committee, now then in parens committee, included Chair Johnny Martinez, Barbara Boyd Secretary, Ken Martinez, Ed Bowles, Rick Snow, Pat DeVivi, John Perea, Sherry Jones, and Cynthia Nava. Barbara Boyd was a member of the original Arts, Community, and Education Center Committee. See Appendix 2 for ACE Committee resolution. Keep going.
Sure.
September 21st, 2023, the committee commenced meeting at the Corrales Community Building in accordance with the resolution directives. However, the meeting had poor community attendance and participation because of inadequate publicity about the meeting time and location, as well as the limited space in the building. The villagers who attended the meeting expressed concern that the meetings were not widely advertised. It was also noted that the original committee, known as the ACE Committee, needed more input from the public during their process. The village resolution creating the ACE Committee specified the organizations that were to be represented on the committee. Consequently, most village residents were not informed or aware of the proposed facility project or the ACE Committee's meetings, since they were not part of those select groups. On October 19th, 2023, due to a conflict with community voting and the need for the public to access committee meetings, the committee decided to move the meetings to the larger Village of Corrales Council Chambers. This allowed for a larger venue and online public access to the meetings, which resulted in more public interaction, comment, and participation. The committee then decided to continue holding meetings in the council chambers to increase public awareness, attendance, and subsequent input. The new venue and Zoom capability also enabled the recordings of meetings, which were available on the Village YouTube channel for later viewing. This greatly improved public awareness of meeting times and dates, and the committee was applauded for hosting open and responsive meetings. The attendance of village councilors was also appreciated.
It's up now, so.
Oh, good. I'm done.
She
Well, let
actually
me
had it
just-
up when I was listening.
Let me finish this section. Knowing that public input was invited and appreciated by the committee, public concern began to ease about not being invited or heard in the past. This also helped to maximize village resident feedback. Additionally, a group of concerned residents formed and spread the word about committee meetings and the continued need for citizen input.
Okay. Do we have any discussions regarding that piece that was read? No discussions for that?
Do we have to talk about consensus? I think we could make a decision on that. I mean, do you want to vote on it?
I'm willing.
Okay, I think what you said, that, I don't think we're going to get everyone to agree, so I'm okay with that. What if we say that it's, the consensus would be the majority of the committee? Does
That's
anyone have
the-
trouble with that?
First of all, that sentence is talking about the consensus of the community members, not the committee. So there is not consensus in the community. I'm pretty sure about that.
Sorry about that, I was trying to get the file sent to Melanie. Strike my comment.
So
About sentiment.
well, sentiment is sort of neutral, right? Consensus is an agreement, and sentiment is just feeling.
Well, I think if you understand that we're drawing up this report and we're going to say our general consensus, we're all going to, at the end of this, we're going to have a statement saying the general consensus is, and then people that don't agree with that will have dissenting opinions. So I think the word is not as big of a deal if we understand that at the end, everybody has a voice to say, I don't agree with all that.
Johnny, why don't we just call it's an aggregate of opinions, because that's what we got from our village, our Caliones, and from us. It's not, that does not imply agreement, or it just means that we've gathered. It's an aggregate, a compilation. of what we're
Johnny,
talking
may I say something as well?
Of course.
So if you look at the results of the community survey that went out for the comprehensive plan, it showed that there was a majority of residents that support some type of center. It may not be this center. So could your report reflect that, there is consensus that something needs to be built, and more research may need to be done into exactly what that looks like?
That is in there. I think the obvious reason we're having this discussion is because not everybody agrees. And so that's why we're discussing the word consensus. Go ahead, Sherry.
Since this is just a preamble, why don't we just take that sentence, yet it does represent the evolved consensus of the community members who have been invested in the issue, just take it out and read, and because the very last sentence says, our hope is that the report will lead to continued constructive, inclusive, and transparent discussions and planning that includes the many diverse voices of our village.
I agree, and I would move the striking of that sentence.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Say aye. That'll simplify it. Okay. Well, that knocks out both of those words, so. All right, introduction.
2 words with 1 stone.
You're a bad dude, Ed. Okay, looking over the introduction, do we have any discussion regarding their introduction? No comment?
I'll comment on it. I think it's fine.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, so then that moves us on to background. Do we have any discussion regarding the background section? No one? Okay,
I did have one thing, Mr. Chairman, in the final paragraph. The final paragraph reads, "The facility designed by the ACE Committee was designated to occupy the former Jones property behind the post office." I was just bothered by the word design and designated in the same sentence, I guess. So I'm willing to go down rabbit holes on wordsmithly. Oh, but toward the end of this, the second sentence, the existing site is 57,893 square feet, or 1.06 acres. The total lot coverage for the building depicted in the drawings was to be 19,896 square feet, 34% of 35% maximum allowed coverage, parentheses, 20,263 square feet. I think that should be clarified by saying the total lot coverage for the building depicted in the drawings was to be 19,896 square feet, comma, slightly less than the M zone's 35% maximum allowed coverage. We'll leave the 34% out of it because it doesn't matter.
So say that again. So slightly less than the 35%,
It's slightly less than the M zones,
what is that?
the M zone, the municipal zone of the village. That's
Yep.
where the site is. The M zone has this is a maximum lot coverage of 35% allowed in the M zone. So I'm saying M zones, apostrophe S, 35% maximum allowed coverage.
Got it.
Which actually reminds me that if we go with the 35%, the key square footage is the 20,263. That's the 35%, not the 19,000 figure. So we need to clean that up, but as I say, I don't think we need to do that today.
Okay.
okay. Any other comments on that? All right. Next section, multi-use center committee process.
We didn't, public didn't get to read it.
Didn't get to read.
I don't think you need to give them time to read the entire thing, but if you're reading a section, I think it helps to have it up there.
Yeah, we'll have it up and they can look at it while we're talking about it.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
this section titled Multi-Use Center Committee Process includes discussion of the meeting at which we had facilitators. I think we need to talk about that meeting.
I have comments in this section as well.
Okay. Go ahead, Sherry.
Let me go paragraph.
Oh, you want to go paragraph by paragraph? Okay, let's do that. Okay, current committee inherited the architectural drawings, blah, blah, blah. Do we have any comments on that paragraph? Okay, the next paragraph is during the course of the meetings. Do we have any comment on that paragraph? All right, the next one is, at the outset, one of the goals. Any comment on that paragraph?
Yes, I think I do on that paragraph. Hold on. Yes. Okay. At the end of the paragraph, we would like the report to reflect the committee gathered information in 3 different methods: public comment, parentheses, written and oral, questionnaire, survey, Spanish and English, and results from the comprehensive plan. And I have a comment, as I always do. We strongly disagree with the exclusion of the results of the Corrales Comprehensive Plan. The plan directly addresses the question posed by the committee regarding the creation of the Performing Arts Center. By omitting this essential data set of over 1,800 Corrales residents' opinions, the report fails to maximize public participation and involvement, which is unacceptable. The committee cannot ignore the wishes of the village residents, which it is stated are fundamental to the report's goals. We strongly disagree with the recommendation of the alternative, oh, but that's a different one, never mind. So,
Okay, you said we, Sherry, you said we have a,
yes, I worked with Cynthia and Pat and John. John and I discussed this in our own group, and so we have some comments that we're making as well.
okay. So in our discussion, one of the things we talked about, and correct me if I'm wrong, because I kind of took a backseat on the writing of this. But that was because the comprehensive plan, or the comprehensive committee was established before us. And so I don't know that we were,
But we received the results.
right, but I don't know that we were a factor. I think the timing,
But it should be a factor in drafting this report because it's something we considered. And we can't not consider it because it goes right directly to the question of should we build this or not?
well, we did have up and down questions on the comprehensive plan committee
Not that
survey
directly address that.
that were not,
Not only that, it's 1,800 people. We can't just say 1,800 people don't get a voice in this.
well, that data is in the
It
final
needs to
report.
be explicit in the report. It cannot be in appendices. It needs to be explicit because that's misleading to the council and to the mayor, in my opinion.
So do you have any opinions, any comments on that?
We're in the section called committee process. When we looked at our process, we did not discuss the comprehensive plan survey results as part of our process. They were there. They're referenced in the report, and what we were referring to when we meant process is what did we as a committee do? The only time that the comprehensive committee, the comprehensive plan survey data was mentioned, as I recall, in the entire process that we had in our meetings of all sorts, was when John brought up the data that was in that survey. He made a comment that this was, in fact, what the survey results were. And we acknowledged that comment and we moved on. We never discussed whether that was part of our process. And in fact, we made repeated attempts, or Johnny made repeated statements that, that process was separate from our process. It was separate from our survey. It doesn't mean that there might not have been overlap between responses between the two surveys, but our task was to focus on the data that we gathered. We mentioned the survey results. It's not as if we ignored them. They're there, but it was not part of our process, which is what this section was about.
If you don't want to put it in this section, it just needs to be reflected somewhere in the report, and I'm open for suggestions.
So we can put that anywhere in the reports. Going back, kind of piggybacking on what Ken said, I think if we would have established the comprehensive plan survey as sufficient, we would have never established our own survey that was part of our process. I think the data from the comprehensive plan is definitely to be considered, but I think as far as our process, we should be basing that off of the information that we as a committee collected.
I disagree respectfully. I think that we had that data at the last meeting when we were doing our dots, we were connecting the dots, that information was available to us, and it certainly influenced this committee, I believe. And this happens just to say that we realized that instead of going down with some wordsmithing and whatever we did, let's just add it into the sentence.
We do have it on the middle of page 6. During the facilitated session, a committee member noted the data from the Village Comprehensive Plan Survey. So we have a sentence. Whether or not it's the correct sentence, I don't know. Page 6, Melanie, up a little bit for
I don't have pages
before
on the
results.
document.
Before results, keep going up. Up a little higher. Right there. During the facilitated session, that one.
Where is it?
It's about the middle of page 6.
This is page 5 on the one that I have.
Oh, I must have, sorry, I have a different one. Sorry. I should look at the old one.
What's-
I gave mine away. Page 5, sorry.
I don't have pages.
Right here. Sure. There it is, right there.
So it is in the process section?
No, it has to be more than that. It was just noted. We have to be honest and say it was considered. I certainly considered it. I know John did when we talked about it when we were walking around putting our dots up there. It is something to be considered because, I mean, that's a large amount of people who in good faith answered that survey. You can like the survey or not like the survey, but the results are the results.
So regarding that, and I don't, whatever the committee decides, that's what we can go with. But regarding that, I think the reason that I don't place, and this is just me personally, don't place as much consideration on the comprehensive plan survey is because that did not have any controls. I mean, we had people that testified in this chamber that they voted more than once. And so when we established our survey, we put control measures in there. We put either you identify your name or an email address so that we can control that, so that we didn't have skewed numbers. So while I think it's valid to put in the report, we have to remember the reason that we came up with our own was because we had people right here testify that they voted multiple times. And then we even saw a comment of that in the comments. Someone said that they heard one of our village staff encouraging that. So I think it's important for us to have controlled data and base our stuff off of that. Now, that's something
I
we can
think,
vote on as a committee,
Mr.
but
Chairman,
that's my opinion.
With all due respect, since I'm the one that wrote the questionnaire, one of the thoughts behind that was it was going to go into more depth than what that was going to be planned in the comprehensive plan.
Agreed.
But that's apples and oranges. That doesn't mean that we did not consider. I'm just asking that it appear, or we're asking, because we feel strongly about this, that it appear as a consideration and not as a note. You don't have to put, the whole, there was 3 methods or whatever, and it doesn't have to even appear in that place. But we need to be honest about it and say that it was a consideration. And I mean, I'm not saying that you took it as a less consideration than I did. That's not my point. My point is, it was a consideration.
Would it be satisfactory to attach the comprehensive plan survey data as an appendix?
It is in the bottom of the current appendix.
I just think the word noted means
Where?
that someone just said, oh, hey, by the way, we had this survey.
Aggregated data, okay.
I'm just asking to change from noted to consider on that thing, and I'll take it out of the process. I don't have a problem with that. I don't think we do, group. No, we don't have a problem with that. We just want it known that it was a consideration in our decision-making as a committee. And I'm not naming who considered it or who didn't consider it.
Okay, so John, you agree with that? Sherry, you agree with that? Pat and Cynthia, you agree with that?
Yes, yes.
Rick, what do you think?
I don't think that it's a barrier to adding a comment in there that we considered it, and that would be almost a one-liner, added to the note on page 5.
So I think the proposal is that in that paragraph, during the facilitated session, a committee members considered the data from the Village Comprehensive Plan Survey.
And then I think we can cite C appendix, whatever you're calling that. I don't know what it's called. And then, so that the council can then look at the appendix and see exactly what we were talking about.
Cynthia?
Why does it say a committee member? Shouldn't
We're
it just say
changing that.
committee members? Or-
Yeah. So Ken changed it when he read it just
Oh,
now.
I didn't
Yeah,
hear it.
yeah.
Just for what it's
Committee
worth,
members.
I think it's more important to include as many voices as possible, even if it involves including a few voices that come twice. So,
Okay.
Really, because I mean, if you think about it, there's been a lot of people testifying. We've all expressed our experiences, sorry, our comments, and we've probably said them more than once. We've probably counted them more than once. I don't know. I'm not here to defend or take on the comprehensive plan. Just looking at that one simple question that was asked in it that's pertinent to our committee.
Okay, so Rick, you're fine with it?
Yes.
Ken?
Yes.
Barb?
Yes.
And, okay, it sounds like we're all on the same page there as far as that goes. And just so you know, man, this is a lot of writing, so a word like A, Cynthia, A and D, and oh my gosh, we've had a bunch of, it's going back and forth, so I get it.
Changes the whole.
Yeah, and admittedly, yeah. And then for those of you that don't know, Rick Snow is an amazing writer. I was impressed.
Who knew?
I didn't think, when you started mentioning some of these things during the writing, I was like, Rick, do I know you? I was impressed. That's a compliment. Take it.
Thanks.
Okay. All right, so we can do that.
What other issues in paragraph
Anything else with that paragraph?
or this section?
Or that section, I should say, yes.
which section again?
Process.
The process.
Oh, yeah. Okay, on page 5 of the document I'm looking at, it addresses the February 15th meeting with the facilitated discussion. And in a third paragraph of that section, rather the third paragraph about that meeting, it says there was some criticism that the facilitator was biased in his facilitation of the committee process. Here it is, right here. However, we concluded that our final committee analysis reflects an accurate depiction of the data gathered directly from village residents. I agree with that, but I don't think it changes the fact that having a supporter of the previous design, the design that we were handed, as a facilitator was not appropriate. We've heard from the public about this, and a couple of them have written us about this, and I think they're right.
So,
So
we,
what are you saying?
Well, I think it's something just has to be acknowledged. I mean, I think it's a mistake on our part. And
so I think that's why we addressed that here, because I heard criticisms as well. We discussed this. So we felt it important to mention it, but that we also felt that that didn't ultimately sway the decision at the end. And I think that's why that's wordsmithed in there that way. Do you have any other writers have any comments with that?
I don't know. I feel like I have two thoughts on this. One is I really appreciate the facilitators. I think it really helped. I didn't feel they were biased, but I'm not going to follow my sword over something like that. What I liked about what they did, and I found it extremely helpful, it was the only work meeting we've really had as a group, and we were able to really look across what everybody has said and look at what we thought was important. I think that's very valuable, and it certainly helped frame or informed my decisions as I was going along and thinking about what we should do. I understand what you're saying, that, maybe I did not know that they were for or against the facility, but I probably just wasn't paying attention. But I do think maybe that is a flaw, that maybe we should have someone totally objective, but we would have had to have flown to Washington DC to get that person. I get your point, Ed, I totally do. But how can we fix it? Because I don't want to demonize them either, because I think what they did was valuable to the group. Does that make sense?
Since you're asking me, I'll go ahead. I realize Rick wants to talk too.
Oh, and Rick, you.
But no, I'm not saying we need to fix it, because we can't fix it at this point. But we're working in a climate of some mistrust. That is, there are people in the public who have not trusted what they're getting from the previous committee and to some extent this committee. And I think in such a climate, you have to be extra careful to avoid the appearance of conflict or appearance of bias. That's all. Just needed to have it out there.
And I appreciate your comment more than you think I do.
So,
Rick, were you going to say something there, Rick?
I just wanted to say, I saw the bias, but the methodology that they used in the meeting allowed us to quickly and relatively efficiently and accurately have the members place their appreciation of the villagers' opinions onto a chart. And I think that despite the what I would consider the bias, the process provided us a valid outcome.
I don't disagree. Yeah.
Can't finish it.
well, first I wanted to ask Ed if you had some suggested changes to this so that we could address them.
Actually, no, I wasn't proposing changes other than to emphasize that perhaps say something like the selection of the facilitator may have compromised the esteem with which the public holds this committee.
So
I might be stretching it with the word esteem, but we can try, right?
I'll say this much and then we probably need to move on. So I appreciate anybody that wants to help out with this committee, whether they're for or against. I've made that public. We have heard feedback. As Ed says, we're acknowledging that. It's addressed, but we ultimately feel that our final conclusions are not influenced by that. Yes, ma'am.
Just on that one part real quickly, not to fix it right now, but in defense of the facilitator, that I don't know at all, I don't even know their name, and
Sherry, can you put the mic on her a little bit better?
but they did come and donate a lot of their time, and I think to say that he was biased and not say why makes me think like he was racist or something. I think you should say he was biased because of his previous participation in the design or something. Define it. That's what I think. You don't have to do it right now, but I do think that it needs to just not sit as he was biased.
Okay, well, that's fair. That's fair. I mean, that's easy one, doesn't change anything.
Yeah.
But again, I just want to say that again, reiterate, we acknowledge some dissatisfaction with that. But I'm also going to say, again, I appreciate anybody that wants to help us out, for or against. I appreciate the efforts, and ultimately, I don't think it's going to affect the outcome. So if it affected, I think then we would have to really get into it, but I think we're good. If we've addressed it, we're good.
Yeah, I think our goal when we wrote that statement was to acknowledge the feedback we got and the experience that some of us on the committee felt during that process, and also say that despite that, it did not affect our conclusions, recommendations, our viewpoint on the whole process. So it's an acknowledgement, basically, and then, we moved on, so.
All right, great. So let's go on and let's move on. The last paragraph on that, on February 20th, do we have any comments on that? Okay. Next section, results in committee data gathering process. Do we have any comments on that first paragraph? How about on the second paragraph?
Do you want to do away again with the word consensus?
Not if it exists. I mean, if there is consensus, I'm fine with it. I'm just not so sure that we have it. But in this case, it's pretty benign stuff.
Okay,
I don't mind.
okay. I'm fine with the word consensus too.
Okay, moving down. Just as a
Are
result.
we moving, did we move into results needs? I have something on number 4.
Paragraph 4?
No, 4, number 4. Under the needs, under the list of needs, for number 4. Do you want me to wait until we get there?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, that's paragraph 2, then the following needs list. Do we have any comments on that? And on 3, any comments on that? Okay, Sherry, you said you had a comment on 4?
I do. I think we have a lot of concern about the listing of alternative sites for a couple of reasons. I'm going to address just the alternative sites first. It was not a task that we were given. We were asked to look at the facility where it was and to make comments on that facility at the location that it was. We were never asked to go out in the village and look for alternative sites. I have no problem with us counting that there were people that wanted to see it maybe a different location. There were 11 people that wanted that. But I think that we should not be listing alternative sites because I think that's the purview of the village. We don't necessarily understand all of the nuts and bolts that are going on with the village, and there may be other things that they have planned for these, and we don't want to overstep, we don't want to step on the toes of say the Parks and Recreation Commission or other groups that may be doing this. I think we should stick to what we were given and not look at alternative sites.
Any comments on that?
Well, we addressed this, delicately because we said explore all options. I think we can't be myopic about this and think that just because it was originally designated by the mayor for the Jones property, that it has to be on the Jones property, given the fact that we also, the village owns several other very attractive properties for various reasons. And, we weren't given the task to do several things that we did in this report. We did them because we felt it was, they needed to be addressed, they needed to be considered, whether it be, the property that the building might be built on. I think we need to look at the fact that right now the village is studying and will probably in more depth study the uses of all of these fairly new properties. including the bank building, and the Gonzalez, Anderson, Jones properties. And there may be more that we're not even, that we know of that may be considered. So we're asking, by the wording of this, that for the powers that be, whoever is making those decisions, that they look at all the options. And just because the Jones property was listed in the comprehensive plan survey question, it did not give the comprehensive plan survey respondents any other option but the Jones property. At that time, it was, was very specific about the Jones property because that's what, what the mayor had designated as the favored spot for this, for building any kind of facility. And what we're saying is that, yes, the Jones property ought to be considered, but what about all the other possibilities that could make sense given the list that we put here in number 4, everything from congestion and traffic to proximity to the commerce of the village further north. And the biggest concern we had, well, there were 2 big concerns. One is the safety of the children that use that whole recreation center, soccer field, swimming pool area, skate park, with all the traffic that is going to be generated by a new building. That was one major concern. The other is the repeated concerns by the equestrian community about the impact it's going to have on Top Form Arena. We just heard it over and over again, and I think those are the 2 very large concerns that we took into consideration to say, well, if it's possibly going to impact that much 2 very distinct but important communities, meaning our youth and children, and then our equestrian community, why not consider other options? We're not saying you should, or the village should do it, or has to do it, or anything. We're saying explore, consider. Those are the 2 words we used in the report.
Johnny, may I make a point of clarification?
Yes.
It was not the mayor that chose the site. That was actually recommended by the Parks and Rec Commission. And it does, we did just find, I gave it to Lynn just the other day, I found a plan from 1996 that actually shows the original plan for the rec center property was to have a multi-use center, and it's labeled on there, multi-use center. And it's what became the old gym. But that idea has been out there for that section of the village since at least the 90s. So just clarification, it was not the mayor that said it has to be here. It was on the recommendation of a village committee.
Thank you for clarifying.
I want to address the Gonzalez property. The Gonzalez property is 5.5 acres of it is in a conservation easement, which was entered into by the Gonzalez family and the village in very good faith. I do not understand the thinking, given that one of the comments that we've heard so much from everybody out there was to respect and to honor our agriculture heritage, why we would think that putting a community center on that property would not negatively impact the conservation easement. It makes no sense to me to suddenly put a building on the one open space area we have in the village of Corrales. I find that contradictory and think that the Gonzalez property should be taken off the board. I mean, if you want to leave the other ones in there, fine. But I just think the Gonzalez property is poorly thought out, and I cannot wrap my head around why we would try to impact something with a conservation easement that has very strict protections and restrictions. And John's on the committee on the commission, and you could probably speak much better to this than me, John, if you want to. Or I don't mean to put you on the spot. I'm sorry.
Just did.
Really, the reason why it was the Parks and Rec Committee made the recommendation for the multi-use center at the Jones property was it was the only property that met the needs because of parking and the size of it actually as far as the 35% rule. Those doesn't currently have any property that would meet the needs of such a community center otherwise.
So that was why when we were writing that, it came up My main concern is the safety of the kids. I used to work with kids, and so, John, you've done a wonderful job with the Parks and Rec, and that place is buzzing. And with the new gym, I think that's going to be even more so. And I commend you on all that work that you've done there. That said, man, I just, I'm thinking you're going to have people showing up to a facility that may or may not be familiar with Corrales, and you got kids that are not they're kids, they run around, they don't care. And in the summer, the sun doesn't even go down till around 9. There's people still out there playing soccer when they'll be having theater performances, if they do this, starting probably around 7:30. So you're going to have all these people from outside coming here, running around with all these kids that are, that you know that soccer field is packed now. Well, it's going to be more so when the gym shows up. And so if we were trying to address concerns, the concern being safety of the kids, congestion, and the equestrian community, then looking at another property would be something that we should consider. Then the word is consider. We didn't have the Jones we didn't have the Gonzalez property when they started their processes, and we won't have the Wells Fargo until tomorrow. But that's a game changer. Things have changed since things started, and I think it would be irresponsible for us to not take those into consideration, regardless what's in black and white. As soon as some kid gets run over, we're going to be wondering, did we make a right decision? And so that's why that even came up.
But it's not just a consideration, it's a recommendation in this report.
That's going to be, okay.
It's another section.
Yeah, that's another section.
Well, when you make a recommendation that we move it to the Gonzalez property, I think that we really do need to think about, the Farmland Preservation Commission has worked very hard in this village at locating properties for this, and I think we have to honor that. I don't think we can negatively impact those properties. I think that would be wrong and goes against goes against thinking in Corrales. That's my personal opinion.
I won't argue that, but that goes contradictory to your logic behind the resolution. The resolution doesn't mention anything about conservation. Go ahead, Cynthia.
On that point, I wanted to read from the resolution, because it is resolution 2357 that created this committee.
Can you use the mic?
I don't have a mic, okay. I'll lower my voice now. It's resolution 2357 that created this committee. And the first sentence says, whereas the administration has received guidance from an initial ad hoc committee regarding creating a multi-use center to be built on the Jones property. It's right in the resolution. So I don't know that we have a lot of flexibility to say built wherever we want it to be built. I think that's a council decision.
Rick?
John?
Oh, John.
Just in the interest of this commission, though, can we just say, strike other properties, specific names like Gonzalez, and just say alternatives? Because maybe the council will find some other property, buy it,
Yeah,
for use in the future.
Yeah,
As long as it's not a recommendation.
right. The other comment I'd like to make is the evolution of the actions of this committee have not tracked ideally with the original ordinance or the establishment. I understand I understand and agree with the movement away from the specific. They wanted us to do design stuff. We are not designing anything. That's one of the changes. So what we should be doing, and the task that we took on as this committee was to determine and to try and define what the village needs, not to tell them how to do it. And that's what we're doing, and that's the way we wrote the report. Yes, sir.
I'm comfortable with the way this section is written, although I agree with John maybe that taking out the specific names of the alternate sites might be a good idea. When it comes to what our purview is and whether we should deviate at all from our charge, we're volunteers.
Right.
We're not working for the village council as employees or hirees, and that gives us some leeway, in my opinion.
So the proposal is that the part in parentheses, Jones, Gonzalez, Anderson Bank Building, be deleted and just have it read with a recent acquisition of properties by the village, comma, explore all options, etc.
So moved, as long as it includes the Gonzalez property reference down below.
Yes.
So you had a motion, do we
So
have a
moved.
second?
Would you say the motion again, please?
What's on the table, yeah. Strike the parentheses. Parentheses, Jones, Gonzalez, Anderson Bank Building, and leave the rest in the first sentence. With the recent acquisition of properties by the village, comma, explore all options for location of the community center, period, properties, you know, go on. So that would be the first strike. The second one would be in the second to the last bullet, where it's Gonzalez property in parentheses. That's what's on the table.
Do we then want to throw in there that we're going to strike it as a recommendation solely, the Gonzalez
Well,
property?
let's get to that.
Wanna
We'll
wait till we go to recommendations?
Yeah.
Okay.
We need to wait. for
Okay,
that.
so you made a motion, do we have a second for that? Just strike that, those references. Rick, okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And John, thanks for your input on that. Okay, results, concerns?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I'm satisfied with this section. There's one item I think might be considered for item 1 to make it even more satisfactory, and that is addressing the traffic and congestion on Corrales Road by adding that the ingress and egress to the current site are both on the same road, same existing road, excuse me. And that seems like a bottleneck in the making if the facility is built where it's been planned so far. So I'm just getting a little bit more specific about congestion.
I'm typing, so you need to be a little more specific about where you want
Well,
and where.
I just put it out there for a sense of the committee. I don't think we need to wordsmith it now. It's just, is that an issue or isn't it? I'm willing to let it go otherwise.
I think it's a serious and important consideration,
Yeah.
but I don't think we need to specify it. We already talked about congestion. Congestion should take all those things into consideration.
Okay, fair enough.
Any inputs on that, John?
I think it's gonna be a serious issue that's gonna have to be looked at more seriously when we get further along when the council decides to pursue such facility in the future.
So, but as far as the word just congestion, or do you think we need to,
Suggestions fine.
congestion's fine? Any other comments on that?
I agree with you, John.
Okay, so we'll just leave that the way it is then. Anything else with that section? Nope. Okay, moving on to 9, conclusions. Any items or any concerns with any of those paragraphs? Nothing? Okay, so on to page 10, recommendations. By paragraph. Paragraph 1. Any concerns or comments with that? Okay, paragraph 2. Questions or comments? Okay, paragraph 3.
Yep, I do.
Go ahead.
I feel like the Gonzalez property should be taken off of the list, period. It should not be recommended. And the reason for this is that, is the conservation easement. This property is one of the last historic and culturally significant parcels of farmland and open space located in the center of the village. The conservation easement on this property has certain protections and restrictions, which make it unsuitable for development purposes. Constructing a community center that meets ADA requirements, including parking area with proper ingress and egress, will negatively impact a conservation easement that was entered into good faith by the Gonzalez family and the village of Corrales. Therefore, I think it should not be a property that we look at for development.
Again, can we just strike the properties and just agree that alternative properties is the first few sentences read?
Would everybody be okay with just keeping the first sentence the way it is and striking properties, specific names?
I think that's a great idea.
So motion?
Right.
Well, let's discuss this. Go ahead.
So exactly. what
We're
you
saying,
said
we're
about-
saying we're considering, the village will consider additional properties, but we're not naming them specifically.
Well, right now it reads, conduct a thorough assessment of village properties and their coordinated short and long-term usage to determine the optimal site for the community center that will benefit its users, the neighboring residents and businesses, and minimize its negative impacts on the community.
Perfect, and stop right there.
Take out the rest. Second.
Last sentence, stay.
Priority among those are youth safety, equestrian safety, and expandability to allow for more meeting rooms and classrooms and traffic congestion, and traffic congestion.
Yeah, so strike the sentence between those two sentences, perfect.
What do you think about that, Ed? Anybody else? Rick? Cynthia, I saw your finger, but I didn't hear you.
We don't have a motion yet, do we?
Yeah,
Yes.
let's do
So,
that.
so what I have is that John moved and Cynthia seconded. So that's where I have right now.
All in favor?
Aye.
I'm fine with that. Okay, paragraph 4.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I'm fine with it with one exception, and that is that I think if you separate the hiring of an architect and the whole procurement process of professional services from the decision about the site, you're leaving out the possibility that the architect selected can help you pick the best site. So I'm not sure exactly how to word that here, but that's a change I would recommend, involve an architect in the site selection.
I would agree with you as well, because that was something that was pointed out when we did the exercise with facilitator, that was one of the things that strongly came up, that we involve an architect from day one.
I think that's a great idea too.
So I have, after hire a licensed architect, include a new bullet, says involve a hired architect with site selection.
Yeah, that's fine.
I would like to make a comment too. It's a good one. It's a good one about the writing. I swear. And I really do appreciate all the work you did. Honest, I'm just hyper and I'm picking on the things that we saw that we wanted to change. I think hiring a licensed architect with experience developing similar community centers in projects like communities similar to Corrales is so very important. And I'm glad you included it here. I think that's an excellent, excellent sentence. Thank you.
Okay, so we're done with that section. Are we free to go on to summary? Okay, paragraph 1, summary, multi-use committee members. Everybody okay with that?
Am I getting fired?
Next section, what became evident? You okay with that? You folks see that Enya over Coraleños? That's Alt 164 on your computer, just so you know. Don't say you didn't learn something today.
Takes a lot of fingers. It takes a lot of fingers, doesn't it?
Okay. On a Microsoft. Okay, well, and then next one is what we did was outreach. Anything with that? And then the last section, after hearing village voices, anything with that? Comments there? And then the little blurb, the next step. And then at the end. And I'll read this. I'll read this because I want to emphasize this. The committee wishes to express our appreciation to Melanie Romero, village clerk, Sky DeVivi, deputy village clerk, and Robert Pearson, planning and zoning permit coordinator, for their gracious support during this process. Thank you. And we also want to thank Michael Chavez and the Public Works Director for providing the portable electronic billboards to advertise the public forum. So,
Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
it wasn't written in here, but I would like to thank the facilitators on behalf of the committee. I know there was some controversy, but you came, you donated your time, and in good faith, you tried to help the village, and I thank you.
I agree. I was going to say the same thing. Thank you very much for your time. And
yeah, that's
you did a
consistent.
good job. You really did.
Yeah, like I said, we appreciate everybody's input. So, yeah, so thank you,
Would you please add that to the list of thank
of
yous?
course.
Thank you.
Okay. We will get to wordsmithing those things and send them out to you folks.
The other thing is on the aggregated data sheets that you all got copies of. The one that we worked on during the facilitated process is the one with the groupings. So you know that's what we worked from. And then we did a second one, which shows the rank order based upon the number of comments we received from oral, written, survey from 1 to 39, and their respective ticks that we gave them as comments, as we read all the comments. Just so you know, that it's the same data, just configured differently.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
can we also, I think, I don't know where we can put this in the report, but I think we need to give a big thank you to the people that drafted this report. I know how hard it is to sit and have your work be picked apart and asked and stuff like that. And I think they did a very thoughtful, thorough job, and I appreciate the hard work because I know the hours that were spent there. So thank you to them.
Thank you. And yes, I was impressed with all their writing abilities. Again, Rick Snow really just impressed me. I asked him, are you sure you worked in the Air Force and not the Army?
If I knew
had
that
that
Rick wrote
brotherly-
this, I wouldn't be saying that.
We had that brotherly discussion. Okay, so are we done with this portion, you guys? Okay, so, oh, yeah, that's good. And so, John's got they're gonna have the opening of the gym on Saturday, right? You want to speak to that real quick before we move on to public comment?
Yes, they are opening the gym from 10 to 2 to the public. Please come by. Village Pizza and Pareja is providing food, and the tours will be by Lynn and the committee.
Good job with that.
And they're going to have a band.
They'll have a band, they'll be dancing, it'll be kind of fun.
What was the band? What kind of music? What kind of shoes do I have to wear? Hip hop.
They're Luke Casey's.
All right. Okay, so on the public comment, 3 minutes, please. Keep it short. Keep it concise.
Okay, Carmen Martinez Titman.
Committee members and Administrator Curry. You said at the beginning of this presentation or the beginning of this meeting that you were appointed in the report, you said that you were appointed to represent the broader village. And I have to say, honestly, I know there's a tendency to want to finish on an upbeat note, and maybe we can do that, but I've been a little bit uncomfortable with this meeting today. I don't understand why one person's family is privileged over the broader community members. I don't understand why you all designated a subcommittee to write this report, and it seems like there was a lot of contention, a lot of disagreement. And it seems like you had said that, Sherry, that you all got together and formed your own group. I'm not.
No, can I answer both of those statements?
But
No.
we should probably wait to let her finish her
sorry.
statement.
I'm probably not using the exact words, but that's what I heard. And it seemed like there was a forceful contention and domination on this group's part to kind of question everything that was written and said, or many things. So I just want to say that these demonstrations do erode the public and community trust. And I heard you say that you were motivated by the open space, that the Gonzalez property is an open space. And I'm not at this point arguing for one property versus the other. But I think the fact that, you know, the committee members said that things have changed since you started, and the consideration is important. And so just this forceful kind of tone that I've been hearing today has made me uncomfortable, and I just want you to know that.
Can I answer you or say something? The problem that we've had, I think, on the committee that's been difficult is we've had very little time to meet as a committee and do our work. Most of our meetings have been primarily, and this is great, and I'm really happy that we did that, public comment. And I know I've learned a great deal, and appreciated all the comment, but we haven't had any time as a group to really talk these things through, and that's been problematic. The one meeting that we did was a facilitated meeting, and today. So, you know, I think that we had a group drafting the committee. They were asked to do that, and they did a great job. We also, you know, as I know I spoke with John and Pat and Cynthia when we were editing the document, because we were asked to edit the document and then send our edits into them, which we all did. And then today we were asked to discuss the document. That being said, there's no anger or resentment towards anyone on this committee. I think that we may differ in our opinions, but I have utmost respect for every single person on this committee. As far as the privilege, I have to say I resent that, and I don't feel that that's at all accurate of anything that we're doing. I have no vested interest in this facility being built on my property. When we sold the property to the village, it was their desire to put the multi-use property on there. I had no desire for my house to be torn down. So do not think that I have some kind of, I'm getting anything out of this deal, or that I'm a privileged person in this committee. And quite frankly, I do resent that, Carmen.
I believe, Sherry, that you referred to the project in a very early meeting, that this was your father's legacy.
It is. I mean, I feel like, it's my land. I grew up on that property,
Yeah.
Carmen. We built it for what it
Yeah.
is. It's a beautiful piece of property. I can't not be emotional about that. You would be emotional as well if it was on your property. And you can't fault me for that. And that's not being privileged. That's just being a human being.
Thank you very much.
Thanks. Okay, up next, and I'm sorry, I can't read the last name very well. I think it's Diana Kelly.
Committee, I'll make this short. Everyone's familiar with if you build it, they will come. And do we need to draw more people from outside? Do we need to, phew, it's too loud, I can't stand. Do we need to draw more people from outside into the village? For what purpose? Revenue? We have traffic, uncontrolled traffic, which really annoys all the people that live here. Excuse me, I have to, my notes I just made now. What is broader Corrales community? What does that mean, broader Corrales community? It's people outside the village? What does it mean?
Well, I think when we were writing, we were just trying to address the whole village, and then just a matter of semantics.
Okay, well, anyway, you talked about consensus and that sort of thing, and I think there's something, it's almost like a legal term. I'm not a lawyer, but people who have standing should be the ones that are considered. Who has standing in the village? People that live here, people that own property here. Outside people have no standing. They may be interested and they may want this so they can come to our nice village, but they have no standing, really. We need to control what happens here, the people who have actual standing. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Rudy Mieta?
Thank you for your time. Thank you for listening. I'm going to keep it short and sweet. It's just real basic. I think that if we want to, and we do, want to move the village of Corrales to a more trusting climate, I think we need to caution against equivocating flawed data, documented flawed data, with secure data. In other words, or datum, is it datum? Lots of data. Let me put it this way. All data has not been created equal. Thank you for listening.
Mr. Patrick McClernand?
Thank you, committee members. I wanted to comment on some of the things that you discussed today on your report. In the very beginning, there was reference to handing off your information for construction documents. That's like the fourth phase in an architectural services contract. And I think that they need to start from the beginning and evaluate your data along with everything. The planning efforts by the village will even be further along on all these other properties. There'll be uses, hopefully, designated for these properties as they see it. And an architect will certainly be involved, not with the other planning, but perhaps specifically on this relative to what the village has talked about the others. Just a little quibble on the building coverage that was discussed, 19,000, 20,000 square feet. Our ordinance doesn't talk about building square footage. It talks about impervious coverage on the site, which includes sidewalks, handicapped access, parking, everything. So that reduces that. I also think that the village is not confined to 1 acre on any piece of parcel that is 20 acres. And if your building coverage, you just draw a bigger line within that rec center, and you can balance all those things. But there was just one little mention about that upper limit that I didn't think applied. My feeling on the comprehensive plan survey question was it was ill-defined compared to what you guys are considering, and to apply some statistical data to an answer to that one, I think is irrelevant. And the alternate site, again, will be decided not just by you or your recommendation, it'll be decided by the village planning their efforts and by an architect that you employ ultimately. Thank you.
Mr. Fred Hashimoto?
Hi, committee. I'd like to thank you all for at least two things. One is involving the public. From the very get-go of this project, well, several years ago, the public wasn't involved. The ACE committee recognized the public as an opportunity, and they recognized it as a threat. That's in their minutes. And the public was ignored. And the public did not have a chance to vote on this, say for a bond issue, because it was decided not to put it on a bond issue, so the public did not get involved that way. And so you have given the public a fantastic opportunity to meet and to interface with you all and to other members of the public who might have differing views. That's cool. But I think this has been a really very good process, and you all have made that possible. And I'd like to also finally thank you for your time and efforts. I know it takes a lot of work to do this, to meet, to interface with others, to interface with us, to write drafts. I've done lots of grants, and it takes a lot of effort. So thanks to Rick and everybody else to do it. So I just want to thank you for serving the community well. I think you've done a very nice job. I think your intentions are excellent. And though people have different opinions, cool. I mean, we're all in this together. We're not going to get consensus as a community, but I think your group, your process has given the community an effort to do something we have not been able to do in my 48 years in Corrales. I've never seen such community input and involvement on any issue. So thank you very much.
We appreciate that recognition.
Ms. Sabine Schurter?
First of all, I would like to thank everybody who was involved in this. The committee, everybody that helped, even our little group. We tried to involve the community as much as possible, and I really appreciate that you helped us doing this. If something is being built, no matter where, just let's make sure that A, it's for the people of Corrales, and it's affordable for the people of Corrales, and that it will enrich our life in Corrales, that it won't make us more miserable, and the potential for more misery is great. So thank you.
Mr. Arnold Farley?
Hello. I echo the gratitude of others that have spoken, and thanking all of you for your time, energy, and efforts. I've sat where you were on different committees to develop something kind of out of nothing, and it's a arduous task. So the hours, pain and suffering of discussion and arguing and trying to find consensus is greatly appreciated as a member of this community. I'd like to make a clarification. It was stated by one of the members of your committee that I, Arnold Farley, as the facilitator, approved and was in favor of the original design. That is not true. It simply is not true. I had no connection with the ACE committee, had nothing to do with the committee, and all I did, as Ken suggested that we did when Ken and Barbara and Sandy and I met in preparing for the meeting for facilitation, he said, well, and by the way, the process was approved by Ken and Barbara as well. I did nothing, Sandy and I did nothing on our own. It was all coordinated with members of the committee, is that he said, you might want to just mention as a disclaimer that you were in favor of the multi-use facility. I said, fine. So you can see it if you wanted the recording. We did say that we were in favor of multi-use committee, which, by the way, is no big news because we did speak before the committee before. So I just want to clarify that before the public and the committee. And one more observation, being a psychologist, those who see bias in others might want to look at themselves and see their own bias. Thank you.
Mr. Tony Messick.
I wasn't going to say anything about this, but because Arnold mentioned it, and Barbara can confirm, since she and I both served on the original ACE committee, Arnold never appeared before us. We had no interaction with Arnold. I would like to thank the committee for your hard work. I know it's difficult. I really appreciate the very, very diligent attempts and success in involving the community and getting community input. Those of us that served on the first committee regretted that that wasn't possible. You deserve a lot of credit for that. I'm not a statistician, but I work with statistics often enough and polling. You all were selected for this committee because the people who selected you knew that you were involved Coraleños who cared very much for your village and were also capable of independent thought. If the village had wanted to know what the community thought, they would have had a referendum. They didn't. The survey that you all sent out had something less than 150 responses, as I understand it. The aggregation of comments includes the same people making the same comment multiple times. That's what's known as a stuffed ballot box. I implore you to take all the information you received and consider it. But I also implore you not to rely on the results of your survey or the comments because they are not, there's no credibility to them. Statistical credibility. You may not project what the village of Corrales thinks from those two records. The new gym's got 8,352 square feet. And Mr. Perea, I'm sorry, it's the grand opening is noon to 2. There will be a band. Please come out, enjoy it. Bring your dancing shoes. Let's see if it works as a place to hold community dances. And lastly, there are 8,500 people in this community. Having a facility where 300 of us can meet at one time and interact and hear what other people have to say is not too many seats. We need the ability to get this community together. If I may have one last thought there, the Corrales Historical Society holds a series of public lectures, and they're very popular. And the last 2, people were turned away, which simply substantiates 150 seats, which is the maximum we've got available around here, is not adequate.
May I have a moment? Mr. Messick, thank you for pointing out my error. I was thinking about setup time for the, for the public, it is noon to 2 o'clock, and the music group is Mystic Vic. I believe they're blues.
Okay. 2 more speakers. Miss Teresa Lopez.
I want to say thank you to all you guys for volunteering your time, and it's been a long one for us too, for all of us in here. I'm going to be real quick about this because my only thought is if and when and what this building is going to be, to include Captain Juan Gonzalez Bas somewhere in that, so that it can give the history, so that that name will be there for a long time. And also, personally, I think something needs to be added to the paperwork saying that the consensus, wherever you went, consensus was not good on the comprehensive plan. None of that was real because there were so many ways to get in there and do it multiple times. It was said many times. Thank you.
And last but not least, Miss Chris Allen.
Good morning, members of the committee. We learned something, Chair of the Comprehensive Plan Review Committee, Chris Allen. We had a meeting yesterday with the Mid-Region Council of Governments where we learned some new traffic data. I thought you might be interested in hearing about it. This is data that's collected by cell phone data. So it's able to track through traffic versus internal traffic. And one of the things they discovered is that of 10,000 trips on Corrales Road, 1,000 were through passengers, 9,000 were us. So is that a surprise? We're a community of over 8,000 people. Is it a surprise that we use Corrales Road a lot? We have to exit the village once we graduate from Corrales Elementary. We have to exit for jobs. We have to exit for most of our shopping. So when you talk about congestion on Corrales Road, look at yourself. Thank you.
And figure out how to get rid of those other 1,000.
Johnny, just as a member of this committee, I would like to recognize and thank Johnny for the really good job he did herding this pack of cats in the same direction. Thank you, sir.
That's much appreciated from my Army friend. So I want to thank everybody on the committee. They've spent a lot of time, guys. They really have spent a lot of time, especially these four right here. And while Sherry did a lot with the survey, and there's been a lot going on behind the scenes. You know, for everything that you see, there's probably been 20 emails in the background. Just to answer a couple of concerns, some of the subcommittees that they had we had to have less than 5, otherwise we'd have to open it up to the public. And so in order to get data aggregated and stuff like that, that's why we did those things. And so just to answer that, Mr. Messick mentioned something about data. The way to get around all that is talk to your counselors, be involved. I've heard on numerous occasions, the best thing that happened out of this was I got to meet my neighbor. And so, meet your neighbors, know your neighbors. We got some fine people in this community, know them, and if you disagree with them, that's fine. That's fine, it's still your neighbors, talk to them, shake their hands and figure a way out of your stalemate there. Ken, go ahead.
Yeah, I want to extend a special thanks to the public, especially all of you who have been here meeting after meeting after meeting, who have organized outside of here, have composed songs, poems, who have sung for us, who have baked goodies for us. And I think that that's a testament to your passion, your interest, and I implore you not to let it die. I hope that you and us too join you in continuing to be vocal, to be active, to be participatory. I've never seen as much public participation in any public meeting as the meetings that you've attended and the public forums that we had at the old church. And I think this issue, rightly or wrongly, has brought the community together, opposing, in favor, whatever your opinions were. It brought the community out and interested in participating in your civic duty. And I think that's a great outcome from all of this, even though we may disagree with one another on specifics about things. But that's the best outcome that we could have had, I think, from this process. I hope, as Johnny said, you continue to talk to your counselors, that you attend council meetings, that you express your opinion, and that you stay involved. That's most important, not just on this issue, but on future issues. Thank you.
I want to personally thank the facilitators because I think you helped us see our commonalities and helped us start writing actually really pretty quickly after we had the facilitated session. So I do want to thank you. I had many positive comments come to me to thank you for that process because it was different. It helped us think about the issues differently and helped us come together. So I thank you for that. I do think we need to talk about our next steps from here. So probably what will happen, we need to decide, but what would happen is the writing team will probably get together, incorporate all the feedback, ship it back out to you. If we need a meeting, we do have a meeting set on Zoom for March 3rd?
4th, I believe.
4th? Monday, the 4th, yeah, that would be right. So it would be a Zoom only meeting if we have to have it. It is already up on the village website if we have to have it. So it is already announced as a public meeting in case it's needed.
Yeah, we have a meeting scheduled on Monday, March 4th at 10 a.m. by Zoom, and then if needed, one on Wednesday, March 6th at, I think that one we chose 11 a.m. for.
And if we don't need those, we won't have them. So just don't be surprised if we don't have them. We may not need them. Our next steps from there is this goes to the village by 5 p.m. on March 7th and will be as part of the presentations on March 12th at the council meeting that starts at
6:30.
Thank you. So those are our upcoming steps, and we look forward to your continued participation.
And the report will be public to all of you on March 8th, right?
Yep.
One day after?
Yeah, it'll show up in the, if you go to the meetings page on the website, it'll be under the March 12th council meeting as part of the public packet. So you'll go to the agenda packet, it'll be part of that.
Pat, do you have any comments?
I just also want to thank the facilitators because I learned a lot that day, and I think that you did a great job helping us, just as Barbara said. You really did a great job. Thank you very much.
Cynthia?
I'd just like to thank the public and the other members of the committee. I think it was a good process, and I'm happy to have been a part of it.
Sherry?
Ditto, I think it's been great. I've learned a lot. It's been nice hearing from the public, been nice getting to meet the people on the committee, and it's been an honor.
Rick?
Thank you all for coming. Appreciate your comments. And it's been a good process. And I enjoyed meeting y'all. Well, I know most anyways.
Thank you for your trust in us.
John?
I'd like to thank the community for taking the time to come and express their opinions and wants and needs for this new facility, if it does come to pass. And I agree with my fellow committee member about you, Johnny, thank you, but I think we're more like herding coyotes than cats, so I'd like to thank my fellow coyotes in the committee. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. I'm glad to have been involved. Thank you.
I'm good. I just thank you all. I've learned a ton.
Okay, I want to thank everybody in this room and all those people that are watching wherever, and talk to your counselors, talk to the administration, be involved. Don't ever get blindsided. You know, that's partly your fault if that happens. So stay involved and stay in communication. There are actually some decent folks. So if we have nothing else, I make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Can I make a motion?
Motion, John, and Ken second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Meeting adjourned. Have a great afternoon.